Hey, deep divers. So you sent us some stuff about email spoofing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a deep dive into that today and help y'all understand this threat and how to protect
It's a
yourselves.
big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. Because anybody with an email account can be a target. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's all of us.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're going to uncover some really fascinating things like how these scammers use psychology to trick people.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some real-world examples of how people get fooled.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, I bet. And most importantly, we'll give you some simple steps to stay safe.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Exactly, the good stuff. So what's so interesting about email spoofing?
Well, it's not just about technology.
Oh.
It's really about how these attackers exploit our trust, and
Yeah.
they manipulate us into doing things that we wouldn't normally do.
So it's not just about knowing how to spot a suspicious email.
Right.
It's about understanding the psychology behind why we fall for these tricks, right?
Yeah, exactly. So to get started, maybe we should define clearly what email spoofing is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So email spoofing is when an attacker changes the from address in an email to make it look like it's coming from someone you trust,
Mm-hmm.
like your bank or a government agency, maybe even a friend.
Yeah.
And the goal is to trick you into clicking on a bad link, maybe downloading some malicious software or giving up sensitive information.
So it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, but instead of fur, it's like using a familiar email address to disguise itself.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah. So it looks innocent,
All right.
but it has dangerous intentions, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Imagine you're John, an HR manager, and he gets an email that looks like it's from his CEO.
Okay.
And it says, "Hey, John, you need to make this payment right away to a vendor."
Uh-oh.
And everything looks legit.
Hmm.
It's got the CEO's signature. It's got the company logo. Even the tone of the email sounds like something the CEO would write.
Right. So John's probably thinking, oh, this is from my boss. I got to do this right away.
Exactly.
He's not even going to question it.
And that's exactly what happened. The attacker knew that John would trust an email from the CEO. They wrote a really convincing message.
Yeah.
And they made it seem really urgent, so John wouldn't think twice.
Oh, man.
And John fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, no.
And the company lost $15,000.
Ouch. That is a costly mistake.
It is.
But I can see how it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think it's from your boss and they need something right away, you kind of just do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It makes you think, have I ever gotten an email that seemed a bit off?
Yeah.
But I just felt like I had to do it right away.
Right.
And that's how people get tricked, I guess.
It is, and it's funny because even when we know about these scams, we can still fall for them.
Yeah.
And that's because these scammers are really good at psychology.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to manipulate us, exploit those little biases we all have
Okay.
and tendencies that make us act without thinking.
Right. Right.
They often pretend to be authority figures like CEOs, government officials, maybe your bank manager even.
And I bet they use scary subject lines like account suspended or
Exactly.
urgent action required or something like that, right?
Like they want you to freak out so you don't think straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're getting really good at using stuff that's public, like information that's already out there online, to make their emails seem really believable.
Oh, okay.
So they might mention like a recent purchase you made, or a service you use, or even one of your colleagues' names.
Wow.
Just to make it seem even more legit.
It's kind of scary how much stuff about us is out there,
It is.
It's like anyone could just find enough stuff to send me a believable email.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it's not just about money either. Sometimes these spoofed emails have dangerous links in them.
Okay.
Or attachments that could, give you a virus or steal your password.
Well, it was a malware.
Yeah, exactly. I was reading about this teacher, Lisa, who clicked on a link in a spoofed email, thought it was from the IT department.
Oh, no.
And she accidentally gave these hackers access to the whole school's network.
Oh, my gosh. So you don't even have to give them any personal information.
Right.
Just clicking the link can be dangerous.
Yeah. Because these bad links can use holes in your computer's software
Okay.
to get into your system.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know.
Yeah, right.
And think of all the sensitive stuff that's on a school network, right?
Right, yeah. Student records and
Yeah, employee data, all kinds of stuff.
It's a gold mine for these guys.
It is. It's a gold mine.
Yeah.
So that's something to be really careful about.
Yeah, that's scary. It makes you wonder, like, what can we actually do to protect ourselves?
Right?
And we know it's bad, but what can we actually do?
Well, knowing the dangers is a good first step.
Okay.
But now, let's talk about what you can actually do to fight back, give you the tools.
Okay, yeah. Enough of the doom and gloom.
Right.
Give us the good stuff. How do we protect ourselves?
All right, well, one of the simplest things you can do is just be really careful about the sender's address.
Yeah, okay.
Don't just look at the name quickly. Hover your mouse over it to see the full details.
So if it looks like it's from, like, email protected,
Right.
but then when I hover over it, it's something like email protected.
Yeah, exactly.
That's bad, right?
That's a huge red flag, yeah.
Okay, so I got to look for that. What else?
Another thing you can do is just anytime you see an email that seems really urgent, just take a minute to stop and think
Yeah.
before you click anything.
Okay, so, like, don't freak out.
Exactly.
If it says, my account's been hacked, don't just click the first link.
Right.
Take a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good advice. What about all that multi-factor authentication stuff?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that worth it?
Yeah. Enabling what's called MFA on all your important accounts is a really important step
Okay.
because it means that even if somebody does get your password,
Okay.
they still can't get into your account without that second thing,
Okay.
like a code from an app on your phone
Okay.
or a physical key.
Right.
And nowadays, you can use what's called the FIDO2 standard, which is even more secure.
So it's like having 2 locks on your door instead of just 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it much harder for the bad guys to break in.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. And, it's not just about reacting to stuff. You can also do things proactively, like using a password manager.
Okay, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of work to set it up, but it's really worth it because then you don't have to remember a million different passwords.
Yeah, that's true.
And it keeps everything safe and organized.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. What else should I be thinking about?
Well, remember Lisa, the teacher who clicked the bad link?
Yeah.
What tricked her was that it looked so real, had the school logo and everything. So even if an email looks totally legit, it doesn't mean it is.
Right.
And you can sometimes spot a fake email by looking at the sender's address really carefully.
Oh.
Look for misspellings,
Okay.
or slight differences from the real domain name.
So instead of, like email protected,
Right.
it might be email protected or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
And look for weird characters, too.
Oh, okay.
Those little things can be a dead giveaway.
Is there anything else?
It's funny? You can also sometimes spot a fake email
Yeah.
because it's got typos and grammar errors.
Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be a clue that the email's not real.
Really? So if it's, like, poorly written?
Yeah, because legitimate companies have people who proofread their emails.
Oh, right. Yeah, they wouldn't send out something all messed up.
Exactly. So if you see a lot of errors, that's a red flag.
Good to know. What about links and attachments?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Uh-huh.
Be really careful about clicking any links or opening any attachments, even if they seem to be from someone you know.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's all about being mindful, right? Before you click, just take a second to think about it.
Okay.
And hover over the link to see what the actual website address is.
Okay.
Does it match up with, the company that it's supposed to be from?
Right.
If not, it could be a fake website trying to steal your information.
So no more just clicking on whatever link looks interesting.
Right, exactly.
All right. Good advice.
And if you're really not sure about an email, you can always just contact the sender directly.
Oh, okay.
Using a phone number or a website that you know is real,
Yeah.
just to make sure they actually sent it.
It's always better to double check.
Yeah, it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, that's true. What about all that technical stuff I hear about, like SPF and DKIM and DMARC? I know it's important, but I don't really get it.
Yeah, those are some technical terms.
Yeah, it's confusing.
They're basically like digital signatures for emails,
Okay.
and they help to prove that the sender is actually who they say they are.
Okay.
And that makes it much harder for spoofed emails to get through.
So it's like a bouncer at the door of your inbox checking IDs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So only the real emails get in. They're like a first line of defense.
So it sounds like we need to do a bunch of things to protect ourselves. It's not just one thing.
Right.
We got to be careful about the sender address. Be careful about clicking links.
Yes.
Check for typos and grammar.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit more empowered.
Good.
But I have to ask, like, what happens if, even after doing all this stuff,
Right.
I still fall for a spoofed email? Like, what do I do?
That's a great question. It's good to have a plan just in case, right? The most important thing is don't panic.
Okay, deep breaths.
Yeah, deep breaths. There are things you can do to fix it.
Okay, what's the first step?
The first thing you should do is report it
Okay.
to your email provider and to the Federal Trade Commission.
Okay, so reporting it helps the authorities track down these scammers.
Yeah, exactly. It helps them see patterns, see what's going on,
Okay.
and hopefully stop other people from getting tricked.
Gotcha. So what else?
Well, the next thing you should do is change your passwords.
Wait, all my passwords?
Yeah, ideally, yes.
Okay.
For any account that could have been affected.
Oh, okay, so not just the account that was in the email.
Right. If you use the same password for different websites,
Okay.
you've got to change them all.
Got it.
And make sure your new passwords are really strong. You know, a good mix of letters and numbers and symbols.
Okay, and I guess that password manager thing could help with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what about bank accounts? Like if I shared my payment details, what do I do?
That's when you need to contact your bank right away.
Okay.
And keep a really close eye on your bank statements.
Yeah. Look for any weird transactions.
Oh, exactly. Anything that looks suspicious.
Okay, and what if I was using my work computer or something?
Then you need to tell your IT department right away.
So they can make sure the whole network is safe?
Exactly.
Right.
And remember, don't be embarrassed to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people feel ashamed if they fall for a scam. But these guys are good at what they do.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
That's a good point.
You know, the more we talk about this stuff, the less stigma there will be.
Yeah, I like that.
And the better prepared we'll all be.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of learning from experience, I was reading about this small business owner, Maria,
Oh, yeah.
who got targeted by a spoofing attack.
What happened?
Well, it turned out her email was getting spoofed,
Oh.
and the attacker was sending fake invoices to all her clients.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Her business could be ruined.
Yeah, it was a really bad situation, but Maria took action right away.
Okay.
She reported the problem, contacted all her clients,
Okay.
and then worked with her IT guy to set up what's called DMARC on her domain.
DMRC, that's like that digital bouncer for your email, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it worked. It blocked those spoofing attempts.
Oh, good.
She also reached out to her clients and explained what happened. And, you know, she worked hard to build back that trust.
That's inspiring. It shows that you can recover from this
You can.
and protect yourself in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered a lot, but it feels like this is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Oh, yeah. There's always more to learn.
So where can our listeners go to learn more about this and how to stay safe?
Well, one place I always recommend is the Federal Trade Commission's website.
That's ftc.gov, right?
That's right. They've got tons of information on cybersecurity, scam alerts, all kinds of stuff.
Okay, perfect. We'll include a link to that in the show notes.
Great.
What else?
Another one is the Better Business Bureau.
The BBB, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a website, bbb.org, and they have a section called Scam Tracker.
Oh, what's that?
It's where you can report scams
Okay.
and see what scams are going on in your area.
So it's kind of like a neighborhood watch, but for online scams.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's cool. What else?
And if you want to report phishing specifically, there's the Anti-Phishing Working Group.
Okay.
You can email them at Email Protected.
Got it. Is there anything else?
One last one. This one's really important if you've ever been affected by identity theft.
Okay.
It's the Identity Theft Resource Center.
Okay.
They can help you figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And they can also help you understand your rights.
Okay, that sounds like a good one.
It is, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll put links to all of these in the show notes. And listeners, don't forget to share this information with your friends and family, okay? The more people who know about this stuff, the better.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
All right, I think it's time to come up for air from this deep dive.
Yeah.
But before we do, I just want to say that email spoofing is a serious threat. But we can protect ourselves if we understand how it works and take precautions.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about the tech.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how people think and how these scammers take advantage of that.
Very true. So stay curious, stay safe, and we'll continue our deep dive into email spoofing in part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, see ya then.
Thanks, you know, it's amazing how much we use email every day.
Oh, yeah, for everything.
It's crazy.
From like talking to friends and family to banking and shopping and work.
Right. It's like, how did we ever live without it?
I know. Email is like the backbone of the internet, pretty much.
It is, and that's what makes email spoofing so dangerous.
Right, because everyone uses it.
Exactly. We rely on it so much. It makes us super vulnerable to these attacks.
Because we just assume that the email we're getting is legit.
Right.
Especially if it looks like it's from someone we know.
Exactly.
And then bam, we've been tricked.
And the stakes are higher than ever, too.
How so?
Well, you think about it. If someone successfully spoofs your email, they can steal money. They can steal your identity.
Oh, yeah.
They can get into your company's data.
Oh, data breaches, yeah.
Yeah, and that can really hurt a company's reputation.
It's true. It's kind of scary when you think about all the ways they can use this to mess with us.
It is, but instead of just focusing on the bad stuff,
Okay.
let's try to be proactive.
Okay, yeah, how can we make ourselves live as a target?
Right, exactly. So it's not just about cleaning up the mess after it happens. It's about stopping it from happening in the first place.
I like that. Okay, so what can we do?
Well, let's start with what individuals can do, okay?
Okay.
One of the biggest things is just to be careful about what you share online. You know, the more info you put out there, the easier it is for these scammers to create like a really convincing email.
Right, so they can personalize it.
Exactly. So think twice before you post your birthday or your address online.
Okay, so keep my digital footprint small.
Exactly. The less they know, the better.
Good advice. What else?
And always be careful about clicking links in emails.
Oh, yeah, even if it looks like it's from someone I know.
Especially then.
Really?
Yeah, always remember that you could hover your mouse over the link to see where it actually goes.
Right, right. It might not be what it looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely going to be more careful about that.
Good. It's all about developing those good habits.
Yeah.
You know?
Digital hygiene.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's talk about what companies can do.
Okay, so beyond what we've already talked about, like, being careful about what we share, verifying email addresses, watching out for those urgent requests,
Right.
and using strong passwords, what else can organizations do to, like, really ramp up their security?
Well, one big thing is just making sure you have strong security measures in place.
Like what?
Well, like multi-factor authentication for all your employees.
Okay.
And making sure all your software is up to date.
Right, so it's like basic security hygiene, but for companies.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm sure there's more advanced stuff too, right?
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of really cool tools out there.
Like what?
Well, for example, you can get email filtering systems.
What do those do?
Well, they can actually detect and block spoofed emails.
Really? How do they do that?
Well, they look for certain things, like if the sender address doesn't match up,
Okay.
or if the content seems suspicious.
So it's like a spam filter, but specifically for spoofing attempts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having an extra layer of protection.
That's awesome. It sounds like these systems can really help to cut down on the number of spoofed emails that even reach people's inboxes.
Exactly. They can make a big difference.
But even with all this tech, I bet people still make mistakes, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Technology can only do so much, you know.
Right.
The human factor is still really important.
Yeah, I guess that's why it's so important for companies to train their employees about this stuff.
Exactly. You got to make sure everyone knows how to spot a spoofed email.
Yeah.
And what to do if they get one.
So like regular training sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, maybe even some simulated phishing attacks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just to keep everyone on their toes.
Right, make it fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to create a culture of security where everyone's thinking about it.
I like that. So it's not just the IT department's problem, it's everyone's responsibility.
Exactly. Everyone needs to be on board.
Okay, so we talked about what individuals can do and what companies can do and how important it is to have multiple layers of protection.
Right.
But what about recovery?
Ah, good question.
Like, what if, even after doing all this stuff, we still get tricked? What do we do then?
Well, the most important thing is to take action right away.
Okay.
Don't just ignore it. Because the longer you wait, the worse it could get.
Okay, so what's the first step?
The first thing you should do is change your passwords.
Again, for all my accounts.
Yeah, for any account that could have been affected.
Right, right. Even if I didn't use that password for the email that was spoofed.
Exactly. You want to be extra careful.
Okay. And use that password manager thing.
Yep, that could help a lot.
Okay. What about, like, if I think my bank info might have been stolen?
That's when you need to call your bank right away.
Okay.
Tell them what happened and keep a close eye on your statements for any weird charges.
Okay, so just be super vigilant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you are using a work computer,
Yeah.
make sure to tell your IT department right away.
So they can clean up the mess.
Right. They need to know so they can take steps to protect the whole network.
Makes sense. This is all really good advice. It's helpful to know what to do if this happens.
Yeah, and remember, if you do fall for a spoofed email, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
There are things you can do to fix it. And you're not alone. This happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's easy to feel embarrassed or stupid.
I know, but these scammers are really good at what they do.
That's true.
So don't beat yourself up about it.
It's good to remember that.
Yeah. And, the more we talk about this stuff openly, the better prepared we'll all be.
Yeah, it takes away the shame.
Exactly.
Makes it easier to ask for help.
Right. And learn from each other's experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of learning from experience, you mentioned earlier about Maria, that small business owner who got hit with a spoofing attack.
Oh, yeah, Maria?
What happened to her?
Well, she found out that someone was spoofing her email address and sending fake invoices to all her clients.
Oh, no, that's terrible. I bet she was freaking out.
She was. Yeah, it was a really stressful time.
Yeah, that could ruin her whole business.
Right, but she acted quickly.
Okay, what did she do?
Well, first she reported the spoofing to her email provider.
Okay.
Then she contacted all her clients and explained what was happening.
Okay.
And then she worked with her IT guy to set up DMARC on her domain.
DMRC, right? That's like the email bouncer thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it worked. It blocked any more spoofed emails from being sent.
Oh, good.
And she also worked hard to rebuild trust with her clients.
Yeah, I bet that took some time.
It did, but she did it.
That's a great example of how even after a bad thing happens, you can still recover and protect yourself.
Absolutely. It's about being resilient.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, but I'm sure there's even more to learn.
Oh, definitely. This is just the beginning.
So where can our listeners go to learn more about this stuff?
Well, one really great resource is the Identity Theft Resource Center.
Okay.
They have a website with tons of info on how to prevent identity theft
Okay.
and what to do if you've been a victim.
Okay, we'll link to that in the show notes.
Great.
Oh,
Another good one is the Anti-Phishing Working Group.
oh yeah, the APWG, right.
Yep, that's them.
Yeah.
They track phishing attacks all over the world,
Okay.
and they have a lot of resources and training on their website.
That's cool. It's good to know that there are people out there fighting these scammers.
Definitely.
What else?
And of course, there's the good old Better Business Bureau.
Oh yeah, the BBB. They're the ones who give businesses those grades, right?
Yeah, exactly. But they also have a ton of information on scams and how to avoid them.
Okay, so they're like a one-stop shop for consumer protection.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think our listeners' heads are probably spinning with all this info.
That's a lot.
We covered so much, from how spoofing works to how to protect ourselves and what to do if we get tricked.
Right.
It's a lot to digest.
It is, but the most important thing is just to be aware of the threat and take steps to protect yourself.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in part 3 of our deep dive, we're going to get into the psychology behind these attacks.
Yeah, the mind games.
Exactly. How these scammers manipulate our emotions to trick us.
It's going to get really interesting.
So don't go anywhere, deep divers. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, deep divers. So we've talked about how email spoofing works, the technical stuff, and some ways to protect ourselves.
Right, we've covered a lot.
But, there's another side to this whole thing, the psychology of it all.
Okay, that's a big one.
It's not just about tricking our inboxes, it's about tricking our minds, right?
Exactly, you got it. It's all about the mind games.
Yeah. You mentioned before how scammers use our emotions to trick us. So how does that work?
Well, think about it. You ever get an email that just, makes your heart skip a beat?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like you feel that little jolt of panic?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it says your account's been hacked or something.
Yeah, or a payment's overdue.
Exactly.
Ugh, yeah, that feeling of I gotta fix this right now.
Right. And that's exactly what the scammers want.
Okay.
They want you to feel that fear, that anxiety, even excitement sometimes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They use those emotions to cloud your judgment.
So it's like they're not just hacking my inbox.
Right.
They're hacking my emotions.
Exactly. They're preying on your vulnerabilities. You know?
Okay, so what are some examples of that?
Well, think about those emails that look like they're from your bank,
Uh-huh.
saying there's been some suspicious activity.
Yeah, those always freak me out.
Right. Because you trust your bank, so you're more likely to click on whatever link they send you.
Right. Yeah, without even thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or those "you've won the lottery" emails.
Oh, yeah, those are always funny.
Yeah, but someone who's really desperate for money, they might fall for it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's all about understanding how our minds work
Yeah.
and how these scammers can twist that to their advantage.
So they know if they can get us emotionally hooked,
Right.
we're more likely to make a mistake.
Exactly. We're not thinking straight.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So what can we do about it? Like, how do we protect ourselves from these psychological tricks?
Well, first of all, remember everything we talked about before
Okay.
about checking the sender address, being wary of urgent requests,
Mm.
and not clicking on links or attachments you're not sure about.
Right, right. But what about when I feel that panic,
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to think straight when you think your bank account's about to be emptied.
I know, it's tough.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to develop those good digital habits we talked about.
Okay.
It's like training your mind to be skeptical,
Okay.
to take a step back before you react.
So it's like mental martial arts.
Yeah, kind of. You're training yourself to deflect those emotional punches.
I like that. So how do we do that?
Well, one thing you can do is just try to be aware of those triggers, you know?
Okay.
Like when you see an email that makes you feel anxious or scared or even overly excited,
Yeah.
that's a sign to slow down.
Okay, slow down.
Take a breath
Take a breath, yeah.
and think about it before you do anything.
Okay, good advice. What else?
You can also make a mental checklist, you know?
Checklist.
Okay, of things to look out for.
So like misspellings and stuff like that.
Exactly. Suspicious email addresses,
Mm.
any requests for personal information.
Yeah, okay.
If you see any of those red flags, be extra careful.
Got it. So double check, don't overshare, and trust your gut.
Exactly. It's not just about technology. It's about being aware of your own weaknesses
Mm.
and training your mind to resist these tricks.
Like building an inner fortress.
Yeah, exactly. Protecting yourself from the inside out.
I love that. So stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.
Absolutely. If we can all do our part to learn about these threats and teach others about them,
Yeah,
we can make the online world a lot safer for everyone.
that's a great goal. Well, I think that's a wrap for our deep dive on email spoofing.
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
We talked about how it works, how to protect ourselves, and what to do if we fall victim.
It's a lot, but hopefully it's helpful.
Yeah, I think so. And remember, listeners, knowledge is power. The more you know about these scams, the better you can protect yourself.
And the people you care about.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And until next time, happy and safe exploring.